If you're in a B2B business or an agency and you're looking to scale in 2024, this will probably be the most important video you watch all year. So stick with me. Because in this video, I'm going to cover how we can unlock acquisition anti-fragility and add upwards of $360,000 in new ARR by injecting proven cold email infrastructure paired with asset-based selling into your business in 2024. I'm going to break down what all that means. I know it's kind of a mouthful, but just stick with me, okay? So, what is anti-fragility? What does this mean? What is this fancy word? So there's a book written about anti-fragility. This guy, Nassim Nicholas Taleb, he sort of came up with this definition here. He coined this term. So what he says here is anti-fragility is beyond resilience or robustness. The resilient resists shocks and stays the same. The anti-fragile gets better. And the reason why we use this word or this term is because going into 2024, it's going to be a very, very rocky ride. There's going to be a lot of painful market shifts. These ESPs, they're making restrictions, they're making changes that are going to make everything in terms of outbound and just client acquisition in general a lot more difficult for everyone. So what we want to do is we're going to build a system that is not only going to survive these painful changes, but it's actually going to thrive because it's going to resist the shocks. Sorry, not resist the shocks. It's going to get better from these changes, right? So I'm going to discuss how all this works and how we can implement this for your business. So let's dive into it. But first, let's cover the projections for the future of cold email. Like what's going into the future and how this is applicable to our thesis and why this matters, right? So let's talk about it. So cold email, it's by far the most difficult and saturated ever been. We can't deny that, okay? Can't deny it. Yet, it remains the most capital efficient and effective outbound acquisition channel in the market by far. It beats ads, beats whatever, right? It's just so efficient. You can set up, a few email accounts for like $50 if you really want to. Anyone can do it. Very low barrier to entry. Super easy. And we all know going 2024, this even happened tail end of 2023. Providers such as Google, Zoho, Outlook, they're really beginning to crack down on restrictions and mass cold email settings. Like these ESPs, they don't want us doing this, right? They're trying to crack down on it. Yeah, we already saw Zoho. Like Zoho is completely gone. Doesn't work anymore. It's irrelevant. Google recently posted that only verified accounts can send cold emails within or outside organizations. They recently added some other thing to where like you can only send like every 1,000 emails you send, only 3 of them can land in spam. They're making it more difficult, right? So it seems grim, right? It seems grim. The thing is, this is a good thing, and let me explain why. As I see it, there's 2 scenarios we'll face going into 2024. One, cold email sending practices don't change, and it continues to get more saturated day by day. And number 2, service providers, they make mass cold email very difficult for the average user through restrictions. So they add all these restrictions, they make it just very difficult, very high barrier to entry. The thing is, we actually want that. It's actually a good thing. We prefer the latter. Because in scenario 1, really the only solution to combating the massive market saturation is just by sending more than everyone else, right? Because spam more emails, send 5,000, 10,000 emails per day, which we'll cover volume in a bit, but we don't want to go down this route to where emails, we just have to send a ton of emails every day, because naturally sending at that volume, these are prospects' inboxes, they're just going to get destroyed. People are just going to be annoyed, lead quality is going to be lower, etc. It's going to be more headache. And yeah, the solution of just sending more volume, it's effective, but it just takes way more work, lowers the quality of email sending, etc. And if you have a small TAM, it's just going to be rough. You're going to run through it within like a week, right? So the reason why scenario 2 is ideal is simply because of higher barrier of entry, right? Cold email is way too easy for everyone to do. All you need, you can go to smartly.ai or instantly.ai, buy a few email accounts, plug them into those servers, and then you can just create a campaign, go to Apollo, create your own list, and just start sending emails right off the bat. Super easy. Anyone could do it. You could teach a 12-year-old to do it, and they'd probably be decent at it, right? And the one thing that cold email is missing from becoming the absolute unbeatable, undeniable, I mean, it still is the best acquisition channel, but making it from the thing that's holding you back from being absolutely just ridiculous, right, is if it had a higher barrier to entry, right? And the thing is, we're already entering this. Like, Outlook is starting to have some issues. As I said before, Gmail, they're running into issues, things like that, with the restrictions. Everything's becoming a lot more higher barrier to entry, and people are starting to have to, use these private infrastructures for cold email sending. Cold email sending practices are just becoming a lot more sophisticated, etc. Right? So, thing is, what this is going to do, it's going to actually wipe out the bottom, and it's going to give all the power to the top 1% of cold emailers, and give them even more leverage, right? Because the game's just going to become so difficult for the average founder, account executive, etc., that they're just gonna give up. They're just gonna be like, oh, let's just focus on content, or let's focus on like Facebook DMs, something random like that, right? They're just gonna give up on cold email and say it doesn't work. So we honestly encourage that these ESPs, they add more restrictions, right? It makes it easier for us, and this is where the anti-fragility aspect comes into it. Is that the more road bumps, the more hurdles we have to face, the better our system's going to get. That's really why I'm even mentioning any of this, right? Because you might be wondering, it's like, I'm sure you're watching this on my website, on my Twitter page or whatever. You're wondering, like, why is this guy starting off the VSL with, like negative, quote unquote, like negative market feedback? The thing is, it's actually a good thing, because it's going to make our system better over time if these things happen. Our systems are already great, which we're going to cover the entire system in this video. It's going to be a very long video. We're going to cover absolutely everything. This is not even really a VSL. It's more of a guide than anything. I just the way we go about selling our service or promoting it, right, is just we just want to give out everything. We want to show everything to you, so that's what we're doing here. We're showing everything. We'll probably add timestamps. You can just go through, check which parts you want to see. But anyways, getting a bit off tangent. I'm just doing this off the rip. So yeah, our system's anti-fragile. We thrive off these negative changes, and our system only becomes better, right? It might make our lives temporarily harder for a little while, but there's always gonna be loopholes in the system that allow us to keep sending cold emails, right? And worst case scenario, let's say you can't send cold emails anymore. We're gonna find another channel. We've already planned for the worst, right? The practice of outbound, it's never gonna cease to exist. Never. There's always gonna be someone who has an offer who's gonna go to another random person who has a relevant business for their offer and sell it to them, right? That's never gonna die. So in the end, business is a game of adaptation. You either adapt or you die. That's it, right? So what's the solution? The solution is a system that's not only resilient and adaptable, but thrives during the painful market shifts or ESP restriction protocols, right? As I just covered. So what specifically, right? Our anti-fragile outbound infrastructure and asset-based selling systems. So let's document this video. And by the way, this document, if you're on the website, you can go to the top right corner. I'm not sure which one is right or left. And you can check out this document. You can scroll through it. You can listen to this in the background, whatever you like to do. You can save that document for later, but it's on the website. You can check it out. So yeah, I'm going to break down everything step by step, our entire system, how you can implement it into your business today, And if you were looking to, add an acquisition channel to your business through cold email, I'm going to show you everything that we provide to you, and yeah, lay it all out. This is not a typical VSL. I'm really just doing this in sort of like an educational way, to be honest. If you really wanted to, you could actually just take this video, do everything I say step by step, and do it yourself. But all the power to you if you want to do that. But we like to sell through showing you exactly how everything works. I shouldn't have to, use any sleazy sales tactics to actually get you to be confident in your service, right? We just want to lay it all out there. So that's exactly what we're doing. So yeah, we're covering the entire strategy. I mean, like, we're covering everything, right? Not a single stone will go unturned, nor unpolished in this document. So, as I said before, you can cover this document entirely, copy and paste it step by step, and you can build a system that books meetings consistently, right, every month. So, anyways, let's just dive into it, right? Let's just dive into it. So, before we dive into it, though, let me share some client results. So, some results we generated with our infrastructure. Here's just a few brands we've booked, 7 to 10 figure brands we booked for clients with our infrastructure. We got Happy Dad, Vita Coco, Untuck It, Emma Sleep, Mortals, Reebok, Spartan Race, SoFi Stadium, Kin Community, Mancini's World, Loyola, Home Run Inn, Shine, Spark, Nautica, Exclusive Furniture, IndyCar, Delo. There's a bunch here, right? You can read through all of them yourself. We got a few client case studies. On the website, if you scroll below, there will be videos that link to these videos on the document. You can check them out as well. We obviously won't sit here and watch the videos, but for 222 UGC, obviously they do UGC. Help them book 100 meetings, scale past $100,000 MRR in 7 months. Before working with us, they had their own system, but it was all over the place. It was failing. They were stuck around like 50K MRR. And the founder and his COO were taking a lot of time working on the system versus figuring out how they could, make fulfillment better, etc. Once they worked with us, we were able to book 10 to 20 meetings per month, help them scale their agency past $100,000 per month in 90 days. And we were able to rebuild their outbound infrastructure from the ground up, tore it out from the roots, and just did it all over again, right? So yeah, you can check out the page, see some of the results. AdWile, 60 plus meetings, add 23K MRR in 44 months. Before Nick started working with us, he worked with the Legion agency, but they fell off. He got burned. And then he was just solely relying on referrals from there in his network. And he didn't have the time or knowledge to run cold email. After working with us, he added 23K MRR in 90 days, booked 10 to 15 meetings per month for him, and then we fully automated his outbound infrastructure. Boom. More results there. Ecom Mails, email marketing agency, 5 to 10 meetings per month, 3 clients in 3 months. Before working with us, no intrude replies, nothing coming from cold email, unsure where his next client would come from, and losing bandwidth and focus from his high leverage checks within his business. With us, he was closing a client a month within those 3 months. Had 5 active, ready to close press processes out. And had 5 to 10 meetings per month on his calendar. And then you can see all the results there. Open rates only, another email marketing agency, helped him scale to 7K MRR and close 3 clients in 27 days. His agency was fresh out the gate. He had no outbound systems in place, and we were able to get that in place for him and save him 2+ hours a day from prospecting, right? So those are just a few case studies. And one final note before we unveil our strategy, right? So this document is going to cover the ins and outs, as I said multiple times. Again, you can check the document out if you want, save it for yourself. On how we book thousands of meetings across multiple industries with some of the most prestigious companies for each of our clients in our own business. And we show this excess of proof to give you the confidence that the information that we show you, it's legit, and you can actually trust what we're saying, right? So, said before, grab a coffee, pen or pencil, and a notepad. This is gonna be a long one, right? But I can assure you, if you're a B2B business owner and you're looking to scale this year, watching this video, reading this document, it's gonna be one of the highest ROI decisions you make this year. So I hope you enjoy. And if you're convinced already, you can book a call below at the button below. But anyways, let's dive into it. So we're gonna break this up into 5 chapters. There's 5 main parts of our process. We got the B2B ecosystem, which I'll cover just for now. Asset-based selling, the cold email infrastructure, back-end operations, and then leveraging AI. This is everything you need to know for thriving as a B2B company in terms of, client acquisition, right? Obviously, fulfillment, different thing. You need to have good fulfillment, but for client acquisition, these are the 5 most important things that you need to know for your business this year. So let's dive into it. What is the B2B ecosystem? I'm sure this is probably like a new term to you. This is something we kind of coined ourselves. Let's cover what an ecosystem is first, right? So an ecosystem, this is the actual definition if you look it up. It's a complex network or interconnected system, right? So how can we apply this to our agency, our business? It's these 5 things here, right? Your offer, case studies, testimonials, a landing page, social media presence, sales letters, white papers like this one. All these things create the ecosystem of your agency. These all have a compounding effect, and once your prospects are sort of in this ecosystem, each one of these levers that you have within the system, it's going to play a big role in these prospects that enter your ecosystem on them converting, right? So let's cover each of them. So offer. This mechanism alone, it's going to be one of the main determinants to the velocity of the clients that you're attracting to your business, right? Thing with offers, so some offers are obviously just going to be better than others. Let's say something like SEO. It's been run through at this point. It's been around for years. People, they know they don't really need it. So what we want to do with these type of offers is we want to, restructure them to make them the most attractive possible, right? Obviously there's gonna be certain offers where like they're better. Something like, let's say, influencer marketing, that's a really hot one right now. You don't really need to do much. So there's different sophistication levels within each offer that we need to be aware of. But there's a general rule to all these offers, with no matter where they are within the sophistication level, that is going to make it a good offer, right? So let's talk about that. So our goal when creating this offer is to make the ROI clear, unique, believable, guaranteed, as high as possible, and relevant to the current market. If you can have all 6 of these things in place, then you have a very good offer, right? It seems quite simple in practice, but it does take quite a few iterations and testing with outbound to find an offer that sticks well with your ICP. So, and just because you think your offer is good and your service great, doesn't always mean the prospect will, right? Because we had some clients, they think like, oh, your offer is amazing. The clients, those want our service, right? It's not always the case. So what we want to do, and obviously what we'll do for you if you end up working with us, we'll help you structure your offer in this way. Obviously, to the best it could be, within reason, of course. We don't want to, be lying to these people. So we'll help you with that, right? But if you're just watching this video for educational purposes, I recommend just, opening a document and just trying to rewrite your offer as many ways as possible with these 6 things in mind. So there you have that. Now, case studies and testimonials. This is the second determinant, and it's infinitely scalable. The more case studies and testimonials you have, the more clients you're going to get, right? Like the difference between 100 case studies and testimonials versus 150, there's actually a difference. Like each one testimonial you get, each one case that you add on to your business, it has an effect, and it's a compounding effect, right? So every case that you can get, it's absolutely crucial. We want to stack as many as possible. So this is the sort of flywheel we built here, right? So it's like you acquire a client, you generate results, create a case study, then you leverage it as social proof. Maybe use that for outbound, or use it like a social media post or whatever. Then a prospect sees that, they're interested, they book a sales call, and then you acquire another client, and then the flywheel goes on forever. It's an upward spiral, essentially, right? So, and yeah, this is why this is important, especially for outbound, because what we're covering here is mostly outbound, right? All these things, they have an effect on how your cold email is going to perform significantly, right? So yes, for outbound to be effective, you actually need to be generating good results for your clients. Can't be a crappy agency expecting to blast 10,000 emails and just expect to have clients, right? You got the best emails ever, but if your agency sucks in the back end, even though if you are generating clients, you're just going to turn them, so it's not going to be profitable over time. So you need to actually have a good service, right, before you start running outbound. So yeah, if your business is sinking ship, all these things, outbound, social media ads, it's not going to help you, right? Refining your product and making a top 1% solution will, for sure. And that's, of course, the only way you can actually scale a B2B business reliably over a longer time frame. Like if you're looking to be in the game for at least 5 years, 10 years, etc., your reputation matters a lot, and you can't be known as this churn and burn agency. So yeah, you need to get that in place. And over outbound, of course, the level of social proof you were able to display has a linear correlation with the volume of meetings you book. It's like our best clients, all of our best clients that perform the best, they always have the most social proof, right? Like they always do. It's crazy. It never fails. It legitimately never fails. Let me take a sip real quick. So to say service delivery isn't relevant to outbound, it's a complete fallacy. It's actually the opposite. It's probably the most important thing, because if your service delivery isn't in place, then you're not going to have the social proof, you're not going to have the case studies. All that needs to be in place if you really want to book meetings. So, and with these case studies, right? Now we want to slap these on our landing page. And your landing page is extremely important. It's like your business card, right? When your prospects, they look up your website after you send them a cold email, that first impression is extremely important, right? You need to be leaving a good first impression. You need them to understand your offer immediately, and you need them to see your social proof, right? That's the biggest thing. Like if your landing page is plastered with social proof, that is the best case scenario. You want them to come to your website, see a bajillion case studies, and it'll give them all the confidence in the world of booking me with you and potentially working with you, right? So, but also the design, just like having a clean website in general, it matters a lot. Like if you're just using card.co for a website that you spun up in 15 minutes, not a good first impression. They're gonna think you're new to the game, and it's very unlikely they're gonna trust you or entrust $5,000 per month to you for a service that they don't even know works, right? So what we recommend doing is just hiring someone to build a landing page, or if you have an in-house person, create the landing page. But yeah, making sure that you have a clean landing page, making sure you're plastering all your case studies over it, extremely important. So here's an example of our landing page. If you're on it right now, you check that out. Do something similar. So yeah, we have client reviews, video testimonials, written explanations. Further down the page, you can see other written testimonials. There's a bunch of social proof all over the place, right? So it gives, it's able to help push these clients to booking a call easier, and then it also makes them warmer while they're on the call. It just makes everything 100 times easier if you have social proof all over the place, right? So definitely do that. And I think you know to do it. Now, social media presence. I think everyone at this point knows being on social media, being on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, LinkedIn, um, that you should be on it, right? You should probably be posting. But most of us, we're kind of like, oh, maybe we'll get to it one day, blah, blah, blah. We sort of just neglect it because, I mean, it's a compounding thing, right? When you post 10 videos, probably nothing's going to happen. You're probably not going to get any calls. You're not going to really have much revenue generate through that. But it's the compounding effect over a long period of time that matters a lot. But anyways, besides that point, just having those 10 videos on your page is actually going to help you with outbound. Because the thing is, you want to, when you reach out to a prospect and they search you up, right? You want them to be able to see that, you want them to be able to see that your face, that you actually know what you're talking about over video, just or post, like LinkedIn post, it could be whatever, blog post. They want to see more about you, right? They don't want it to just be a blank slate, nothing there. They need to have more context. And the more context you have, just across the internet, of your business, yourself, your agency, the more likely they're going to be confident in your service, right? Really, all these things, everything we're talking about here in this B2B ecosystem, we're just building confidence in the prospect, right? That's all this is about. Building confidence and trust. So if you look at it like this, right? So you have two different agencies, and you're reaching out to them, the same exact offer, you have the same amount of social proof, etc. Which agency are you going to trust the most? Agency 1, 10,000 YouTube subscribers, dozens of videos on cold email, LinkedIn profile stacked with connections, and social proof. Or Agency 2, a small LinkedIn profile without a profile picture, right? Which are you most likely to book a call with? Assuming everything's the same except for their social media presence. It's obviously going to be Agency 1. You're going to trust them a lot more. So definitely stop slacking on this. We'll give consultation on this if you decide you would like to work with us. But yeah, just start small. I mean, you don't have to, I think a lot of people want to start off really big. Say, like, oh, I'm going to post a video a day, post on LinkedIn, Twitter, blah, 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 all over the place. And it typically ends up going nowhere, right? So just start small, post every other day on LinkedIn, or post one video a week on YouTube, or post like a tweet every other day or once a day on Twitter. Just start small, start somewhere, right? Get the ball rolling. And once you get in the groove of posting, you'll start posting a lot more, and it's become a lot easier. So don't overcomplicate it, just get it done. Now the final part of the sales letter, of the B2B ecosystem, it's going to be sales letters and white papers. So this is something that I don't see many people really talk about when it comes to B2B, agency game, things like that. But this has been probably one of the biggest levers we've ever pulled when it came to client acquisition and just closing more deals, was these sales letters and white papers, things like this, right? This document I have. Our close rate with this has been insane, like 60%, leveraging this document within our sales process, right? And the thing is, you can leverage this in multiple places within the sales process. So let's say, you send a cold email to someone, you can offer the sales asset, this document, this white paper, your sales letter to them. That's a valuable resource that they can use. And then even during, like, let's say the discovery process, before your closing call, you can reiterate everything and go over this document, tell them exactly what they're getting, everything, just like this video, right? As it says here, like what you're reading right now, it's a perfect example of this, right? Like, who else in the outbound space has a document regarding our process on outbound as thorough as this one? Or like a video like this, right? No one has this, right? It makes closing deals 10x easier, because for the prospect, it becomes a logical decision to work with us versus a persuasive and emotional decision. It logically makes the most sense to work with us, because We've laid it all out there. We explained everything, right? And why it works, how it works, and shown proof that it actually does work, right? So yeah, there's thousands of research out there on writing sales letters, white papers, etc. But the advice we give to our clients is this: just write out your entire fulfillment process step by step, without revealing too much, like the things that you need to gatekeep. Obviously, keep that in place, and then format it in a document where it's digestible and for a sophisticated prospect to understand, right? I mean, ideally, you want to be working, with the more sophisticated prospect, the one that is willing to spend more money and kind of understands the process a bit more. So you want to be able to cater to them, and also, of course, you want to be able to cater to the one that's maybe not informed on the existence of your offer or how it really works, right? But we want to make it seem like we're writing to someone who's like very sophisticated. As you can see this document, I mean, I cover everything. Um, so yeah, that's basically the methodology behind it. It's very simple, really. It just takes quite a bit of work, but the ROI is there for sure. So really, it's just lead with so much value that it would make the prospect stupid to deny working with you. It's like, why would they work with someone else over you once you've laid it out there? Everything's out there. The proof is there. You explain exactly how it works. It's just a matter of implementation. That's it. It becomes a no-brainer decision. So that wraps up the B2B ecosystem. Again, we can cover it again. Make sure your offer's in place. Make sure you make it clear, unique, believable, guaranteed, as high as possible, etc. Case studies, testimonials, making sure you're collecting as many of them as you can. Of course, making sure you're providing a good service. Landing page, recommend just hiring someone or having one of your designers do it, but making sure you're just plastering all your case studies and testimonials over it. Social media presence, making sure you just start posting, just post something, have some sort of presence out there to where when a prospect looks you up, you are not just a blank slate and you're just an empty vessel, right? You're able to give them context through social media. And sales letters and the white papers, you can leverage these throughout your sales process to make prospects warmer, make closing easier, and just make the entire sales cycle a lot faster, right? So you want to make sure these 5 things are in place. And what we're going to do for you is we're going to make sure these 5 things are in place when you work with us before we begin outbound, because it's going to have a significant impact on your results, right? So we want to make sure that's all in place. So now let's dive into asset-based selling. You've probably been wondering what this means. This is sort of another term that we coined ourselves. So before we dive into what is a sales asset, this is going to be the asset that we base our selling off of, right? Is a sales asset. This definition I came up with myself. It's a leverageable body of work that depicts expertise or proof of concept for a mechanism within an organization. So that might sound a little bit confusing, but let me break this down. So a leverageable body of work, right? This is something that's something like this document. I'm gonna refer to this document a lot, or this video a lot in this video. So this is a leverageable body of work, right? This is a body of work, and we leverage it, let's say over outbound, over social media, and it depicts expertise, right? We cover everything, and we do it in a very precise way. Or proof of concept, we also cover case studies, right? We cover the proof of concept there for a mechanism within an organization. So in this case, we're covering everything. This is we're covering the entire mechanism of our offer. You don't have to do that. You can cover smaller mechanisms. Let's say if you do UGC, you can cover the UGC story framework that you're using for creating the UGC for clients, or let's say for a specific client. That's a mechanism within your business organization. So that's basically a breakdown of this definition here, right? I know it might be a little bit confusing, but yeah, that's the best way we can sort of lay that out here. So sales assets are assets that can be leveraged to make the sale conversion easier. In simple terms, right? 2024, having strong sales assets is more crucial than ever. Because having sales assets, they'll amplify your offer. With most offers being sophisticated nowadays, leveraging unique sales assets gives you an edge over the competition and gives you a chance to differentiate your offer from the rest of the market solutions. Again, for example, this document, right? Like no one else on the market in this outbound space, they don't have something like this, right? It's very unique. It differentiates us from the rest of the market here. I don't mean to harp on, you know, our process too much, but I think you can kind of understand here how that's working. And the more sophisticated your offer is, let's say you do email marketing, it's gonna be more crucial to have good sales assets in place, right? So make sure you're able to stacking these sales assets, let's say videos, like YouTube videos, that's a sales asset, documents, process breakdowns, decks, things like that. All that's gonna have a big impact. Because yeah, gone are the days of ripping in meetings. It's like, hey, we'll increase your Klaviyo revenue by 30% in 90 days. You just can't do that anymore. You need to lead with value up front, all right? And yeah, most offers at this point, they're commoditized. You need to be able to separate yourself from the rest. So let's cover how we actually leverage asset-based selling over cold email to close more deals consistently. So beginning with the first thing, right? We have to actually create the sales asset. So we want to build sales assets around case studies, service breakdowns, roadmaps, videos, processes, etc. that are valuable and can cover high leverage mechanisms within the problem that your service solves. So, for example, we offer a 78-page document. This document again, that breaks down our process step by step, exactly how we build cold email infrastructure for clients, why it brings results. Again, harping on this again. It doesn't have to be that long, of course. It can be a short slideshow presentation, but it can also be longer. It could be an hour-long video. Whatever, test out whatever, see what's working, see how that goes. Each sales asset has strengths and weaknesses. You just need to test between the multiple sales assets, see which works best for your offer and market. Certain markets are different. Let's say for something like e-commerce, if you're targeting e-commerce brands, I would say a quicker sales asset is probably going to do better versus a longer one because they're getting spammed by so many emails per day, people offering things already. So being quick and snappy is going to be typically better for that. But also, I mean, the thing is, big sales assets still do good too. So it's really a matter of testing, just testing on your offer. But yeah, let's sit there. The shorter the sales asset is, the more likely the prospect will read it, watch it, whatever. But they're not going to be as warm hopping the call versus the long sales asset, where they've read and watched it thoroughly and have a full understanding of your process, your offer breakdown. They'll obviously be a lot warmer on the call if you sent them a longer sales asset, right? So I recommend, just create at least one solid sales asset that you can use across the board for your market, and then you can create a few niche ones for different sub niches within your market. So that'll be easy. Give me a second here. Now let's talk about leveraging the sales assets over cold emails. Gotta take a sip. So for cold email scripts, we want to be leveraging the sales assets that we've created to its fullest extent. And the best way to go about this is offering your sales asset in the CTA of your cold email, right? So for example, mind if I share the X page document with you covering how we achieved Y with Z? It's very basic, but you get it. Try to get creative with it. There are no rules to cold email. You can offer a sales asset, first sentence, breakdown, etc. Of course, we'll test a bunch of different scripts for you guys if you end up working with us. But yeah. Another great approach is offering a sales asset that's niche specific, right? So let's say you have sub niches. Let's say you're targeting e-commerce again. You want to target, let's say, UK based cosmetic brands with TikTok ads, right? This sort of adds a tasteful touch of relevancy, personalization, and value to your email because you're talking directly to their niche, right? Not just e-commerce in general. You're saying specifically UK based cosmetic brands, with your offer, right? And it's if you offer this to them, right? It's like why would they say no? Like, what is there to lose, right? Obviously, we're gonna try to get them on a call after, but and they probably know that. But they could just check it out. There's nothing for them to lose, right? This also caters to the foot in the door psychology, where we just want to make a good first impression. We want to lead with value. This also works with like reciprocation or reciprocity. Apologies. Where when you provide something for free, people would just, without expecting anything in return, people just naturally feel inclined to give you something back, right? So, we're playing with psychology here, right? Because everyone's asking for 15 minutes of time without providing anything up front. So we want to flip that, right? We want to zig while everyone's zagging. So let's continue. Now, providing the asset over the email to the prospects, very simple. We're going to, of course, link or attach the assets to the email, and then we're going to pitch for exact time and date. And yeah, that's very simple, basic inbox management. Now, once we send the sales asset, we pitch for a call to the prospect in a speedy manner. We want to do this speed too, right? We want to respond within like 5 minutes to these people. And we'll talk about that later in the inbox management section. I think two scenarios will occur. The first one is the prospect will immediately respond with interest for a meeting or object. So they're going to respond, or they're going to go ghost. And I'd say about 70% of the time, the prospect will go ghost, which is this where great follow-up systems will need to be in place. I'm sure if you're running cold email yourself, you've probably ran into this problem where people say they're interested, but they don't book a meeting. So ensuring that you have a good follow-up system in place is absolutely crucial. So we want to follow up asking about what they thought about the sales asset, because a lot of times maybe they saw it, but they just got lazy, didn't want to respond, or they just didn't feel like responding. Send over more sales assets, pitch for calls, etc. But the goal is to get them, get them to view the sales asset if they haven't yet, and then of course get them onto a call, and we're going to follow up until they say yes or no. Persistence is absolutely key with the strategy. Now let's talk about the post-booking funnel. So let's say they booked the call now, right? They viewed the sales asset, they sent over a cold email, etc. What we want to do now is set up Calendly workflows that redirect them to a booking page with more case studies or a VSL to keep them hot for the call, right? So for us, so you booked a call with us, we probably link you back to this video. Now you're watching it now, and when you hop on the call, you're gonna have a great understanding of what we're talking about, right? So it's crucial to actually make sure your prospects are warm and they're engaged with your business, like in the business ecosystem, as we covered before. We want them to be in that little funnel. We want them to be in that ecosystem. So then become contemplative and then end up canceling last second or going to a competitor, thinking another competitor is better. We want them to be so firmly convinced in their mind that your solution is probably going to be the best out of everyone else within the circle or within their niche or industry, that talking to you is a good decision. Because there's a lot of risk or valid reasons for the prospect to convince themselves not to hop on the call, right? It could be a waste of time. You could be a scammer. The service might not be the right fit. They might not have the budget, etc. We want to remind them that this is a good decision, right? That they are making a good decision, hopping this call, and that they should be able to trust you. Now the actual discovery process. So with prospects from cold email, we always push for a 2-call close. Closing a client off the first email or off the first call with cold email is very unlikely. Not many people really do it. It's because you guys are two random strangers. You don't really have much reciprocity with each other. So you need to build a little more, reciprocity, right? Make the sales process a little bit longer, because closing deals from cold email is obviously more difficult than closing deals, let's say, from inbound social media ads. Mostly like social media, like inbound, because they've already been viewing your content. They already know what's up. With cold email, it's like you just met them. They barely know you. So you got to get to know them a little more, and they got to get to know you a little more, right? So, and of course, unless they're literally begging to buy on the first call, always push for a second call, and because there's gonna be an important step that we're gonna cover between these two calls that's gonna help us secure the close, right? But on discovery, what we want to do, obviously, simply qualify them. and just give a brief general explanation of your service. And of course, if you have your own discovery process, if you have a sales process that's doing really well, you stick with that, of course, right? But we're just mentioning this because the asset-based selling strategy, it ties in with the entire sales process in general. So yeah, that's why we're covering that. But now this is huge. So what we're now going to do is we're going to we're going to hook the prospect to the sale, right? So once we determine the prospect is qualified, at the end of the discovery call, what we're going to do is called hooking the prospect. And we hook the prospect by doing this. One, we tell them that we're going to create a personalized strategy video for the company specifically. And we'll cover this later. It doesn't have to be a video or something like that. It can be different, but we'll cover that later. Then we want to schedule them in for and confirm the second call on the call. Like we want to confirm that they're going to show up to the next call on the call. We want to make it as soon as possible. Ideally, like next day if you can. But if they need more time to think, if they need more time to speak with their team, of course, give them the time. And then you also want to invite them to your Slack channel. If you don't use Slack, I mean, I recommend using Slack. If you want to work with us, you need to use Slack. But yeah, invite them to your Slack, and so they're locked in. They're in your client channel. So the onboarding process from there is so easy that it's just like all you have to say is like, yes, let's get this going. Boom, send over invoice. They're already in your Slack, and just get things going immediately. Because the odds of a prospect going ghost after booking a follow call and adding them to your Slack is almost zero. Like once they're in there, it's basically a done deal. Some prospects, they might be opposed to it sometimes. So you can't do it all the time, but you'll be surprised. A lot of prospects they're not completely opposed to joining your Slack right off the bat. So just go for it, try it out. But yeah, the close, it's basically inevitable at this point. If they agree to both. If they haven't, just still follow up with them and try to at least get them scheduled for a second call. Now at this point, the close is perfectly lined up. Now it's just a matter of swinging the bat, right? Which we'll cover next in the personalized strategy asset. So this is the nail in the coffin. This was a massive lever that we pulled in 2023 for closing more deals. Was this in particular, right? So what we want to do is we want to film, and you don't have to film a video. This is just what we do personally. You can create like a document or like a deck or something like that. Video is just typically easier, but you can do as you please. But you want to film. This is what we do. You want to film a Loom video explaining your entire fulfillment process and giving an exclusive look into other successful client accounts that are in the same niche, right? So let's say you're an ads agency and you're in talks with we'll go with like the beauty brand client again. If you can hop into another client's account, like ads account, and show them that, go into depth. Obviously, if you can't, if it's like you have an NDA or whatever, then you have to figure out some workaround. You can just show them like your process, how you create the ads, etc. That's huge, but if you do that, that is so much leverage, and it's like it generally becomes a no-brainer to work with you, right? Because then again, as I mentioned before, it becomes a logical decision. It's like, okay, this guy just showed me the inside of his account. He showed me live proof of working with another brand that's just like us, the strategy on how he does it, etc. It's like, why would we not work with them? It doesn't make sense. It literally just, it makes logical sense to go with this guy. He's shown us everything. But yeah, we like to make the video a bit longer, between like 20 to 40 minutes. What we do is we just go over this document. But what we'll do in particular for clients trying to close, we'll go into other cold email accounts. So we'll show them other client smart leads, show them the campaigns that we're running, meetings that we're booking, etc. to give them that confidence, right? So again, yeah, for example, we would use like this document, as I just mentioned. Yeah, at the time of writing this, we had like an 80% close rate. It's gone down a bit. Like 80% is not, it's not really that realistic, of course, as you probably know. But yeah, no, we do have an 80% close rate. If they watch the video in full and hop on the second call, we have like an 80% close rate with that. But yeah, making sure like those two things are in place, we have that close rate. Because I mean, again, it becomes a no-brainer, right? For other service offerings like email marketing, FB ads, you hop in the Klaviyo account, Ads Manager. Said before, you show the other client results if no EA is an issue. But yeah, to reiterate, this has been the biggest lever we pulled for our sales process to close more deals. It can be a bit time testing, but I guarantee you will not regret doing this. So now the actual closing. Before anything, we want to make sure you ask the prospect if they had a chance to view the asset, watch the video, etc. Because that's going to have a significant effect on the close. So making sure that they watched it is crucial. So if they haven't watched the video, tell them like, hey, take some time out today to watch the video, and we'll reschedule for tomorrow. And if they have watched the video, then the close is easy from here. You just ask them like, hey, what do you think of the video? Then insert any final objections, questions, whatever, and ask them when they're ready to get started. Like at that point, if they're on the call, and they watch the video in full, they're basically ready to go. There's nothing else to cover really. It's just like, are you ready to get started? If they're not, then obviously follow up with them in the future. But at that point, they should probably just be ready to get started and get on board from there. It's that simple. It really doesn't take any sales, persuasion. It's just pure logic. So yeah, if you went through thorough detail of your fulfillment process through the video, prospects shouldn't have any objections at all, right? Main objections at this point, they should have been covered in the video. And yeah, the main thing is gonna be like pricing, really. It's like, but of course you can negotiate that yourself on your behalf in the call. Otherwise, say that we get started, just send over invoice and PIF. It's easy as. So conclusion. In a world where very few people give value and without expecting to, in a world where very few give without expecting to receive, providing as much value throughout the entire sales process of fresh breath air for most of these business owners. Most are used to the typical doctor framework type sales calls, trying hard to sell, being very vague. Our approach is the antithesis to this. What we're doing is we're qualifying to see if it makes sense to work together, giving them a thorough explanation of our fulfillment process, and then we're giving them full transparency of client results through live looks at the client accounts, right? This is not what the typical sales guru does, right? We're doing everything opposite. We're going for logic-based selling. We're not selling them on the offer itself. We're selling them on the implementation of it. So few B2B companies are operating from a frame of honesty and transparency with clients, which is why this works so well. Again, zig while others zag. So now it's finally, this is probably the part you're waiting for the most, is now we're going to be covering the actual cold email infrastructure, right? So this cold email structure is going to consist of 5 main mechanisms. We're going to talk about front email sending. I'm going to talk about deliverability, list building, script writing, and inbox management. So let's dive into it. Starting with front-end email sending. All right. So volume negates luck, right? This is by far the most neglected and simple part of outbound that for some reason B2B companies seem to neglect 99% of the time. If you send more emails, you're going to book more meetings, right? It's basic math. So it's like, okay, let's say you send 10,000 emails and you book 5 meetings. What do you think would happen if you sent 100,000 emails? You would book, in theory, 50 meetings. So why would you not send 100,000 emails? Like, it's just math, right? It's basic math. So how many emails should you send though, right? You want to send as many as possible within reason. So here's what our front end volume setup looks right now. This is as of January 23rd, 2024. So this might change in the future. We're probably going to increase this over time. It always increases over time. Right now we're buying 50 domains, same 100 email accounts, which we can send about 2,000 emails per day, which equates to about 44,000 emails per month, right? Again, the volume negates luck. It's pretty hard to not book any meetings if you're sending 44,000 emails per month, right, to your ICP with an optimized offer, with a proper B2B ecosystem in place, with sales assets in place, with a social media presence. You're going to book meetings, right? Now you can see like why I covered all these other things outside of the cold email before discussing cold email itself. It's because it's all compounding, right? It's all compounding. And then stacking volume on top of it, it just makes the system well-oiled, very well-oiled, right? Makes it thorough. So with the high volume, we simply give ourselves more chances to hit our dream prospect at the right time with our offer. So in a way, we're manufacturing luck, essentially. So for the actual tech we use for our front-end email sending, we go with pork bun domains, Outlook Workspace for email accounts. Right now, we are actually leveraging our own private infrastructure for that. Very few people in the market have this. I'm not going to mention it in this video. If you'd like to know what it is, obviously book a call with us. I will tell you about that, but it's something that we're kind of gatekeeping right now. And then SmartLead for email warm-up and sending. So very basic setup, other than the private infrastructure, which we are leveraging ourselves. If you want to learn more about that, obviously book a call. Yeah, from what we've seen, we tested everything. These service providers have proven to be the best with deliverability in 2024, and now we will dive into deliverability. So email deliverability, this completely dictates whether your cold emails land in prospect inboxes or spam. And it's absolutely crucial to have deliverability dialed, because if you don't have this dialed, then nothing's going to work. Doesn't matter how good your scripts are, doesn't matter how good your lists are. None of that matters if you are landing in spam, right? So we want to figure out how we can maximize the efficacy of our deliverability, making sure it's good, and making sure we have a good email reputation, which we'll cover right now. So the reputation, email reputation, every email account you create, it's going to have a reputation with each email provider. And of course, we want to keep making it the best possible. So to build a good email reputation when creating a new account, we have to warm up our email accounts. And what is warm up? Email warm up is a practice used to boost email accounts' reputation through emailing other accounts back and forth to show, number one, your emails are landing in other people's inboxes, and number two, that people are actually responding to your emails, which is crucial, right? With cold email, it's kind of brutal with the sort of deliverability side of things, because it's like, if you write a bad script and you have bad lead lists and people don't reply to your emails, that's actually going to hurt your deliverability. So it actually becomes a downward spiral. But it's also vice versa, right? If you write good scripts, you have good lead lists, people are responding, your deliverability, your reputation will be really good, and that's going to stack up over time. But when an email account is brand new, we want to warm up the email account for 14 days with a software like SmartLead, and not send any emails during this time, right? Not any cold emails, at least. Only warm emails. And then once the warm-up period is over, we can gradually start sending cold emails while still running warm-up. And we recommend, once at full volume, to send 20 warm emails per inbox at an 80% reply rate. Now let's talk about ramping up. So this is what we're going to do once that 14-day period is over. We want to ramp up the cold email sending. So you don't want to go from 0 to 30 cold emails per day right out the gates. That's going to hurt deliverability severely. What we want to do is ramp up. So how it's going to work is week 1 of initial cold email sending, we'll send 5 to 10 cold emails per day. Week 2, 15 to 20. Week 3, 25 to 30. The thing is, with our private infrastructure now, we are actually able to expedite this process, and we're actually able to skip the warm-up process completely. But just for educational purpose in this video, as most people don't have access to that, this is the typical process you would go about. But again, if you're interested in that, if you want to be able to send cold emails from day one, just immediately, obviously, put your call below and we'll talk about that, right? So we want to cap out 30 cold emails per day, because the more, when you go past that, you're going to be risking landing spam. In total, between the cold emails and the warm emails, it's 50 emails per inbox, so you don't want to go above that threshold, right? Now let's talk about bounce rate. So bounce rate is essentially the percentage of emails you send that don't land or bounce from a prospect's inbox. The higher your bounce rate is, the worse your email reputation becomes. Email bounce rate is when you send an email to an unverified email address or one that doesn't exist, and it lands in the prospect's spam filter, right? Over time, the more emails get bounced, the more damage your email deliverability takes. So, and that's going to be damage to your reputation, right? So, rule of thumb, you want to keep your bounce rate below 2% for good deliverability. Obviously, you do this, you keep good deliverability through cleaning your lead lists and making sure you did the proper practices for cold email deliverability, for like warming up, ramping up. That's going to all help your bounce rate, right? And as a side note, what you never want to do is never use your main website domain for creating email accounts to send mass cold emails from. Because if your domain ever gets blacklisted, your website domain will be ruined, right? So another thing what we want to do is obviously create secondary domains. We want to go to Porkbun, GoDaddy, whatever you use, and we want to purchase secondary domains that it looks like the main domain, but it's not. Of course, it's not the actual main domain. But these secondary domains will redirect to your main domain. So let's say you have agency.com, you create one like goagency.com, and that will redirect to agency.com, if that makes sense. But the thing is, there is rules to creating these secondary domains. We want to make sure we're only using .com domains. Don't use .info, .work. Those will be counted as spam. They're not counted as spam off the bat, but odds of landing spam would be a lot higher because those are typically spam domains since they're cheaper. You don't want to use numbers. For example, agency123. And you also don't want to use hyphens. You don't want to use the little dashes like good-agency.com. These are good examples of secondary domains. GoAgency.com, agencynow.com, and weareagency.com. So yeah, make the investment of buying the proper domains. Don't be cheap, and don't go for the spammy domains like .info, .work, etc. Now let's talk about spin tags. This is crucial. This is absolutely crucial, and this is something a lot of people overlook now. Excuse me. So essentially, what spin tags is, it's a text alternator that switches up the words within an email to make every email you send unique. Because the thing is, if you send the same email over and over and over and over again, thousands of times, the ESPs are going to detect that and they're going to be like, okay, this guy is obviously mass sending cold emails, and they're going to mark it as spam. But when you're sending thousands of unique emails, like where not one email is the same, it's a lot harder for these ESPs to detect that, right? That would be automated. So here's an example of spin tags. You can check this on the document. I'm not going to read this out loud, but you can see, it's like, hey, hi, hello. You're saying the same thing over and over again, just in slightly different ways. The words are just changing within the brackets, right? But yeah, in 2024, making sure you're just maxing out spin tags is so crucial. Like as you see in this email, every single line is spin tagged out. Because yeah, these ESPs are becoming a lot more advanced and sophisticated, and they're catching on these patterns a lot better over time. So making sure spin tags is in place, you max it out to its most to the highest capability, you'll be good. So that's that. So recap of the best email delivery practices. You want to warm up your email accounts for 14 days, unless if you have the private infrastructure that we have, where we can skip that. You can book a call below if you're interested. 2, ramp up email accounts after warm up, making sure you're not sending 30 cold emails per day per account right off the bat. 3, keep a low bounce rate, below 2%. Only use .com secondary domains, and then always use spin tags. Right? if you execute on these 5 practices, you'll have no problem having at least 97% plus deliverability. Now, let's talk about list building. So lead lists, these are the fuel to your campaigns. This is probably the highest leverage activity when it comes to building out your cold email campaigns. Because the thing is, if you're not reaching out to the right people, then, I mean, the script doesn't really matter, right? So you're booking, even if you're booking meetings, if they're not the right people, then you're not going to close deals, right? So we want to make sure our list building is dialed. Excuse me. A lot of talking here. We still got a while to go, so I hope you're enjoying this so far. But yeah, basic physics, right? Bad fuel, bad mileage, bad lead lists, bad campaign results. Your list not only determine the target market you're reaching out to, but how you write your copy as well, right? So let's say you're going to build a list of, you're just targeting e-commerce brands, right? If you were to personalize each email according to this list, so this is just e-commerce brands, it could be any niche, whatever. You might write something like, notice you run an e-commerce brand. It's like, duh, of course you do. It's not very personalized, right? There's tens of millions of e-commerce brands out there. This could have been sent to anyone. So how can we write more personalized email copy? So by building segmented lists. So instead of just targeting e-commerce brands, we target beauty brands with TikTok Pixel. It's way more specific, right? And now when we write, now we can write much more personalized copy around this segmented list. So for example, came across your brand on TikTok while looking for beauty products. This is a lot more tailored to the prospect since you cannot send this to any e-commerce brand owner. You can only send this to, beauty brand owners with TikTok Pixel, right? It's a lot more niche than just all of e-commerce. So how do we actually create these segmented lists? So let's dive into it. So we gotta find your ICP company. ICP, of course, your ideal customer profile. We need to build account lists of all the companies we want before we actually find decision makers within these companies. So there's plenty of different databases you can search from to find these companies. Depending on the niche you are targeting, the industry, you'll use a different database. So for example, if you're targeting agencies, let's say you run a lead gen agency, you're targeting agencies, probably go with like Clutch.co. You can use BuiltWith as well, or Crunchbase. You can really use anything for agencies. BrandNav store leads, or for e-commerce brands, you want to go to BrandNav or store leads. SaaS, Seamless AI, Crunchbase, BuiltWith, SalesNav. You can kind of just target any industry with those. But in this example, we're going to use BrandNav for finding women's apparel e-commerce brands. We'll start with filtering the companies first. And there's typically 4 main filters every database has that we are going to use, and that will be most relevant for building this list. So here are the things that we use for each company for each search, right? So let's go with department-industry. So we're going to niche down the department/industry you want for your campaign. In this case, targeting women's apparel brands. This is an example in BrandNav. Employee count. This is where we're going to be able to estimate the revenue, because these databases, they have revenue filters, but they're typically pretty inaccurate, because most companies, they're not public, right? So there's no way to know a private company's exact revenue. So we just go with employee counts. That's going to be the second most accurate. But this is sort of the rule of thumb we go with. Between 1 and 10 employees, it's like below 30K per month. We typically never target those people, unless if you're going for smaller companies. 11 through 20 employees, 30K per month to 100K per month, 21 and 50, 100K per month, 1 million. That can vary a lot. Like you can have a massive company that has 11 to 20 employees. But this is just like the general rule of thumb. We always want to sort of like underestimate it when building these lists. But yeah, so you see here, In this case, let's say we do a minimum headcount of 10 employees and we're just doing maximum infinity. Could be 10,000 plus employees. Now, let's talk about technologies. So you can choose the relevant technologies that your offer uses to find the prospects that you're aware of. So let's say we're offering email marketing, we would go with Klaviyo. Pretty simple, nothing crazy. If you're doing TikTok, you do TikTok Pixel. Google, you do like Google Pixel, etc. If you do like if you run like an automation agency, you can say like HubSpot, something along those lines, right? And let's talk about location. Really, you only want to target English-speaking countries unless if you're going with, or if you're targeting a very niche country. Obviously, you'll know to target them specifically. But if you're cool with working anyone that just speaks English, typically just go with these. United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Really, the main two are United States and then the United Kingdom. But yeah, with these filters in place, we'll have the companies list built out. And now we can export the list to CSV. And this is where we'll move over to Apollo, where we will find the qualified decision makers now. So now we must find the decision makers. So in this step, we'll use Apollo. As of now, we are planning on testing out Clay as well. I'll probably create some video on that in the future, but for this long video, we're going to just cover Apollo. This is what most people use. It's the biggest database for finding these people. So it's also like the most reliable. So let's just cover it here. At this point, what we want to do is we want to go heavy on exclusion filters, because the thing is, when you export lists from these databases, a lot of the time you're gonna have a lot of unqualified companies. So to counteract that, we want to go to the keyword section and we want to filter out these companies, the ones that are not qualified. So again, we're doing women's apparel brands, so we want to make sure we're not getting companies that involve marketing, sales, agency, service, wholesale, medical, information technology, education, media. We don't want any of those, right? We want brands. But really, this just depends on who you're targeting, the exclusion filters you use. But in this case, we're talking about the women's apparel brands. If you're targeting e-com, these would be typical filters you'd use. But you always want to make sure you use these, because you don't want to be spamming out these emails to just unqualified people, because that could hurt deliverability, and it's just a waste of time for everyone. Now, once you have the people, just select find people. We're running through this like a SOP basically. And yeah, just go to job titles. These are the job titles we typically choose. If we're going for like marketing people, say owner, founder, C-suite, partner, VP, head, director. Those are the main decision makers. And then the departments and job functions will go with C-suite, design, human resources. And the human resources, it's talent acquisition. Not all of human resources, it'd be talent acquisition. And then just marketing. So now you have your list of qualified decision makers with the qualified companies you want to work with. All you do is at this point just export these leads. We use a custom Apollo scraper. A lot of the Apollo scrapers got banned because I did create a video on one of them, and that did not end out well. But we do have our own custom Apollo scraper. So again, if you're interested in learning about that, I recommend booking a call below. But you can use things like Find Email. You could also just pay for Apollo and manually scrape the leads off there. It's not the best, but there is solutions if you do not have access to the custom scraper. But yeah, what you want to do once you get this list, you obviously want to verify it. We'll use Million Verifier. It works well. It's trusted. But yeah, now that we have our verified list in place, according to the niche that we want to target, we can finally begin the script writing. So let's dive into that. Now, it's time to discuss the actual moneymaker, right? Cold email script writing. This is probably what most people are curious about. Everyone's wondering like, oh, what's the script? What's the script that just prints meetings, etc. We're gonna talk about how you can actually create your own list on your own accord. Sorry, not list, script. How you can write your own script and you know add your own touch to it and book meetings with it, right? So there's 4 topics you must cover to understand mastery of cold email copywriting. First, you understand the psychology of cold email. Second is understanding your ICP. Third is creating a relevant offer. And the fourth is cold email script frameworks, right? So first and most importantly is actually understanding cold email, why it works, and the psychology behind it. So let's dive into that. So cold email, this is probably the rawest way to get direct market feedback from your ICP, like immediately, instantaneously. Because if prospects don't like what you have to offer, they will let you know, like very quickly. They will say no. They do not care about your feelings. They're faceless behind their email accounts. I've had people tell me heinous things because of the unfortunate fact that my email happened to end up in their inbox, right? So when it comes to outbound sales, we are dealing with the primitive brain of the prospects that we are reaching out to. Nothing's held back. They are faceless and they have nothing to lose calling you whatever derogatory term they want to call you, right? And this to many is why outbound is very scary to them, and it brings them to conclude that it doesn't work. But this is actually further from the truth, because we are dealing with the primitive brain, primitive subconscious brain, right? And we can actually find predictability in that within the prospects, because at a subconscious level, humans are 99% the same, unless if you have some sort of, chemical imbalance or whatever. We're all the same, really, at a subconscious level. We all react to things, if we see a fire, or like if we see a dangerous animal, we're probably gonna think like, oh, danger, right? Subconsciously, we're not gonna go up to it and try to pet it, unless of course there's some chemical imbalance. But we all have hardwired response mechanisms to certain social and environmental cues that we encounter on a daily basis. And the subconscious is trained by these consistent patterns with these daily occurrences. So like as you're going out through your day, let's say if you're walking on the street and you walk past a dog every day, and every day that dog barks at you, you're going to assume the next day you walk past the dog, it's probably going to bark at you, right? This is just like part of the subconscious training. The subconscious, it just picks up on patterns, really. So why does this have anything to do with cold email? Why does this matter at all? So let's put this in the frame of the prospect, because this is what we really care about here. Let's say you run a successful e-commerce store and you receive 50 cold emails from marketing agencies in your inbox every day. In your inbox, you're going to see a plethora of quick question name, thoughts, hey name, etc. And when you open these emails, you're going to see the same 75 to 150 word email, giving their life story and how your agency is somehow different from the rest. At the end of their long-winded story, which you probably didn't read, they ask for 30 minutes of your time on a Zoom meeting that you didn't have any intention of ever attending. Now imagine for years on end, this is what you see in your inbox every day. What do you think your immediate subconscious response will be to these emails? All of this, right? Spam, F off, unsubscribe. Why do I keep receiving these emails? Just like screaming, begging for help, It's like, how do I make it stop? See, but you can get it now, right? Let's say you're an agency owner, you run your own marketing agency. I'm sure you get a ton of these emails yourself, right? So you already understand this. But imagine this every day for years, with the same BS emails in your inbox with no end. Like, I'd be pissed off too, right? I'm already getting cold emails myself, and I do cold email, and I'm kind of just like, bro, leave me alone. Obviously, when it's a good cold email, I appreciate it, which we'll discuss right now. But you might think, well, if this is the case, then is a cold email dead? Why even send cold emails if everyone else is being spammed and tired of it? This is true if you send the same spammy emails, non-relevant emails that 99% of cold emails are sending. Because when a prospect opens the email and it looks like the 100 other emails in the inbox, no matter how great of a service you run or how well written your email is, their subconscious brain will immediately classify you as spam. And if we really want to get their attention and not be classified in their subconscious as spam, we need to be a pattern disrupt. And what is a pattern disrupt? This is the actual definition. Recognizing an unwanted pattern, disrupting it, and leading someone to the desired behavior. And this is exactly what we're trying to achieve with our cold emails, right? So the unwanted pattern is being classified as spam, the disrupt, our well-written, unique cold email, and then the desired behavior is a meeting booked. So how do we write cold emails that people actually want to read, right? 2 words, or 4 words, or 5 words. Excuse me. Well, it's 2 things, right? Number 1, be relevant. Number 2, provide value. Those 2 things are undying. They will always work forever. You want to write about what the prospect wants to hear, not what you want to tell them. A lot of people write their cold emails with the idea of, like, this is what I want to tell the prospect. I want to tell them how amazing our agency, how we're unique, our motto, our slogan, etc. No one cares about that. No one cares about that at all. Prospects do not care what your slogan is. No one cares. No one cares about the design. No one cares about your fancy logo. They only care about 5 things. They want to know how you will make more money enter their bank account, how you have successfully how you've successfully helped others just like them before. Did this person do any research on our company? Like, did you actually care before you sent the email? Are you a real person or a scammer? And is this wasting my time? You must address each one of these in your email and do it in less than 50 words. Because you have a solid 5 seconds to catch a prospect's attention and keep them engaged. They don't have time to or want to read a whole ass essay, right? No, they don't want to read that. So get straight to the point. So here's an example of a TikTok organic offer for clothing brands with this in mind. Real quick name. Create a deck outlining the TikTok organic strategy we use to help Nike generate 10 million views on TikTok in 30 days. May I share with you? Boom. In 31 words, we addressed every objection the prospect had in their mind opening the cold email. And I'll literally outline it right here, right? How will you make more money into my bank account? TikTok organic. Have you successfully helped others just like me before? Help Nike generate 10 million views in 30 days. That's another clothing brand. Did this person do any research on our company? Relevant clothing brand case study for their clothing brand. Are you a real person or a scammer? Website with social proof and LinkedIn. That's where the B2B ecosystem comes into place. And then, is this a waste of my time? Only 30 words long and offering a valuable strategy deck covering a great result. See? You get it? There's no BS personalization, no long essay, not asking for anything in return, just leading with straight value. This is a pattern disrupt. This is something prospects actually don't mind receiving in their inbox. Because you're presenting them with value first, right? You're not trying to blatantly take away their time and sell them right out of the gates. We're also taking advantage of reciprocity since, when you give something without asking for return, they naturally feel obligated to give something back. Obviously, they don't always give something back, but subconsciously, it kind of triggers that. So next time you're writing cold email, keep this in mind. Be a pattern disrupt, don't blend in. Write about them, not you. Lead with value first, and cut all the BS. Simple as, and that's how we write all of our cold emails. We keep this psychology frame in mind, and it is obviously proven to be very fruitful. Now that we actually understand the psychology, let's dive into the sort of the gritty of writing the cold emails itself, right? So let's start with understanding your ICP, because before you write your cold email, you have to know who you're writing it to, right? So yeah, is it CMOs who, run 25 plus employee clothing brands, or is it chiropractors with less than five employees, or is it CEOs of 100 or 1 million with 100 plus employee IT companies? Um, Depending on customer profile, the copy will vary heavily. So, think you're gonna do you think you're gonna write the same email to the chiropractor as you would to a Fortune 500 CEO? Of course not. All right. So what we need to do is we need to write out the details for our customer profile, right? So we must understand our ICP's niche, title, employee count, and jargon. And the more specific and relevant we can be with each of these details within our copy is what's going to create higher conversion in the meetings, right? Because we're going to when they feel more understood, when the copy is more relevant to their current situation, it's obviously the offer is just going to be a lot better, and their money's going to be spent a lot better with your offer in that case, right? Pretty basic. So here's an example with the CMOs of 25 plus employee clothing brands. So niche, clothing apparel, title, CMO, head of marketing department, employee count, 25 plus, jargon, ROAS, CPA, AOV, etc. We'll keep this in mind when we write our copy, and it'll make it more relevant to the prospects. So with understanding your prospect's role, language, company size, etc., we can now create a relevant offer and desirable offer within the cold email to benefit the current situation, right? So creating a relevant offer. If you want anyone to hop on a meeting with us, we must offer a solution that they actually want and is relevant to their specific situation. If the offer isn't relevant, they're never going to hop on a meeting, right? You have to have an offer that they actually want. So offering email marketing is not enough. You need to, how is email marketing actually going to help them? So let's create a list of how it can help them, right? Decrease ad spend while staying profitable, or while maintaining revenue. Increase attributed revenue from email. Increase customer retention. Increase AOV with unique flows. Cut customer return rate. And now that we have a list of what our offer actually does, we can write the offer around each solution. So, for example, we'll increase customer retention by X% through unique Klaviyo flows, or we'll cut ad spend by while doubling revenue in 90 days with email retention systems. We'll add X% of your AOV to your AOV within 3 months, or we'll pay you. Pretty basic examples, but you can get the idea. These are all valuable offers to the prospect who run e-com brands, but you still need to make it more specific, right? This is where we remember ICP. We'll use the previous ICP example for instance. We work with clothing brands to increase attributed email rev by 30% in 60 days with our pure commission email systems. So you can notice how it's a lot more tailored to the CMO of the clothing brand. We mentioned the niche, specifically email revenue, as they're in charge of marketing, right? And mention pure commission email systems, since most agencies just charge retainers, making the offer more risk averse. So with the offer in place, we can now move into writing the actual email, and this is where the cold email script frameworks will be in place. So before writing emails, we need to sort of have a framework in mind that we can put the pieces into, right? And the thing is, with cold email, every line must have a purpose. We want zero fluff. We don't want a line saying like, "Hey, oh, I know, you're really busy, and I don't mean to take too much." Like, just get rid of that. Doesn't matter. So here's a few cold email frameworks we have the most success with. I'm not going to read all of these out loud. You can check them out. Of course, again, the document, I think that's your right. It's in the top right. It's labeled under white paper. You can check that out. Click on that button, and you can see the frameworks for yourself, so you can test these out. These are just a couple you can use. You can really mix and match these. There's like a bajillion different frameworks you could test out, but the thing is, there's 5 main pieces that can be used for every cold email, and ideally, you need at least like 2 of them per email that you write, which they'll be the intro, offer, pain point, case study, and the CTA. So let's cover each of them. Intro. So the whole point of the intro is to show you have done some research on the prospect, built a little rapport, explained why you reached out, and then show that you're not just another spammer. A lot of people overcomplicate this, so let me explain. This is probably the least important part of your email, to be honest. Typically, the intro is where you show off personalization, if you have any, which is going to be done with VA, AI. It's no one really uses VAs anymore. It's all AI written lines. Or you can just generally personalize it through having written or having created segmented lists, as we spoke about before. But for now, I'll just cover creating the generalized personalized lines. I'll talk about AI personalization later. So let's continue using the clothing brand example for the CMO. Here's something that I'd write. Hey John, love clothing brands or company names, recent apparel ad, want to reach out. So this is super, super basic. Probably wouldn't use this anymore, but this is just a quick example. As you can see, it's really, really quick. Like, you don't want it to be more than 10 words, to be honest. Like, again, the intro is the least important part of the email. The thing that matters most is the offer, the case studies, and the value proposition, right? But like you can see here, this can be said for most clothing brands as they run ads of some sort. And, well, the people that you want to work with typically run ads, right? Yeah, because if they don't, they're probably unqualified. But we're mentioning apparel specifically. So, yeah, nothing crazy. Obviously, it's not optimal, but it could be more specific and niche down. You could do niches within clothing and make it more specific, but this can get the job done. Really, doesn't need to be that crazy. Now let's talk about offer. The offer within the cold email. I know we talked about offer before, but let's talk about the offer we're going to write in the cold email. So how do we actually write it? So get the good old Hormozi framework. We want to show the final result, time frame, the unique mechanism to get there, and then a guarantee if you have one as like a risk reversal, right? So let's use the example of the CMO again. We work with clothing brands to increase email rev by 50% in 60 days with our pure commission email systems. Or we'll increase apparel buyer retention by 50% in 9 days through our unique Klaviyo Froze, or we work for free, right? So you can see here, this is the final result, time frame, unique mechanism, and there's kind of like the risk reversal in this one, because pure commission, there's not really any risk because it's all commission. Same with the next one, final result, 50% added revenue or added retention, 90 days time frame, mechanism, unique Klaviyo flows, and then risk reversal, we work for free. These are really basic examples. Again, we wouldn't use these anymore for our email marketing clients, but we obviously are not going to drop the exact scripts that we're using. Should be able to know the exact end result, how long it will take, how you do it, and what happens if you don't in one sentence. It should not be more than one sentence. You can get it all done with one sentence. The prospect should not be confused about your offer at all either. It needs to be crystal clear, or else they will be turned off. And again, very basic examples. I recommend you write out 10 different offer angles and go with the ones that are most unique, as everyone's sending these type of emails every day, right? But the framework is still 100% valid. So let's talk about pain point. Pain point, I personally think it's probably the most powerful mechanism to use within your cold email as a sort of like offer type thing. Because the thing is, pain is always going to be more motivating than desire, right? It's basic psychology. So just think about it. You have two people, or you have two offers here for running 100 miles. Like, who's more likely going to do it? The guy who's offered $10,000 to do it, or the guy who is going to lose $10,000 if he doesn't? It's probably the guy who's going to lose the money, right? You don't want to lose the money, so you're going to do work to make that happen. So for this angle, it's good to write out a list of pain points for your ideal customer that what they might have and how you can solve it, right? So how do we mention the pain point in our email? First, we got to call it the pain. We'll do this by either asking a relevant question or mentioning a problem you potentially noticed, right? Then we'll offer a solution. Here's an example for the clothing CMO again. Noticed a few mistakes in your welcome flow that could be costing thousands of sales every month. So I made a video covering how we can fix these mistakes. Can I send it to you? So it's relevant. Anyone can sign up to their welcome flow. It's the first email you get. And yeah, there's probably something that can be improved, right? A lot of these brands, they need better email marketing. If the prospect resonates with the pain point, they're going to be interested. They want to know. If they care about their business, they want to know like how it can be improved, right? So it's like, why not? So we can call it pain points and offer a solution for each. We just got to show the prospect why we're credible in doing so, and we'll do this through case studies, right? Case studies can be the most powerful part of your email, and it typically usually is if you have good case studies. Of course, if your case studies are not the best, then they won't hit. But if you have really good case studies, if you worked with really big people or really big notable companies, then they could be huge, right? As I said before, there's a linear correlation between the amount of social proof a client has and the amount of meetings they book. It's linear, right? More meetings you have, or the more case studies you have with bigger names, the more meetings you're going to book 100% of the time, guaranteed. So, okay, imagine you have a pain point and let's say you're struggling with generating leads for a TikTok agency. If someone were to come to you and say, hey, we recently helped this TikTok agency that was struggling to find leads, just like you go from 20 or 0 to 20 sales calls per month in 45 days, that would obviously be very relevant and intriguing to you, right? You're telling the prospect that you've helped someone in the exact same shoes and achieve the exact result that they're looking for. Of course they're interested, right? So the way we write our case study will be very similar to how we write our offer. Here's an example. We recently helped Supreme, a clothing brand like yours, 2x email revenue in 67 days with our pure commission email systems. There are two things that you always want to mention in a case study, right? Relevance and social proof. So as you can see here, clothing brand like yours, that's the relevance, social proof, Supreme, and the end result. If you're targeting clothing brands, you always want to mention a clothing brand you helped, not a fruit brand. You also want to mention the name of the company you worked with for social proof. Don't just say we helped a clothing brand. If you have an NDA, I mean, you can do that, but it's not as effective, right? So ideally, you want to mention the client name and not keep it anonymous. So the final part, your CTA. Every email needs a CTA. That I've seen people write scripts without a CTA, and I've heard like it can work, but in general, you want a CTA, right? The whole point of sending emails is to get a response and then turn it into a meeting. So we need to give the prospect a clear reason to respond. And there's three types of CTAs we can use. We have a hard CTA, which is just pitching for the call off the bat. Soft CTA, which is just sort of poking for interest. And then value CTA, which is offering a sales asset. And out of these three, the one that's performed the best has been, by far, the value CTA, which is basically our entire strategy. The entire asset-based selling strategy revolves around giving value first, leading with that value, which we can do with the value CTA. So I personally use the value CTA for 90% of our campaigns. Sometimes I'll use the soft CTA, but I never use the hard CTA anymore. In 2024, no one's hopping on a call right at the bat. I mean, yeah, maybe one in like 5,000 leads will, just because you get like lucky and it was good timing. But in reality, people are not doing it. You need to give a little more nowadays, right? So how do we create a good CTA? I always type back the CTA to the prospect's desired outcome or pain point. For example, open exploring how we can implement a system for company. Let's say we talked about a relevant system, etc. Made you a video covering how to fix X for the pain point. You might send it over. Tying to the CTA to the offer, case study, or pain point makes the email flow much smoother. It's like the entire email makes sense, right? When it's tied into the body, and just makes the CTA more valuable in general. So those are just a few examples. And now let's actually cover a script writing example, right? So I know some of you guys are just gonna copy these right off the document, but I'm gonna show you how we could, with everything we've covered so far, craft these into an email. So at this point, you should know who you're targeting, what your offer is, what frameworks you want to use, how to write each piece of the framework, right? So all we have to do is just implement what we covered so far. First, let's define who we're targeting. I'll use the same example: niche clothing brand, title CMO, head of marketing, employee count 25 plus, revenue range around 100K plus per month, and then the jargon, ROAS, CPA, and AOV. Second, what is our offer? We work with clothing brands to increase attributed email revenue by 30% in 60 days with our pure commission email systems. Third, what framework do we want to use? Intro offer case study CTA, intro case study value CTA, intro pain point solution CTA. So let's create 3 examples for each of these. Hi name, love the vibe of company's website, and close. Reaching out since we work with clothing brands to increase email revenue by 30% in 60 days with pure commission email systems. Use this system to help Supreme 2x email revenue in 67 days. Open to exploring further. So you can see here I kind of tied the CTA at the end, or tied the case study at the end of the CTA here. Number 2, hey X, really digging company's recent drop. So that one's kind of goofy. Wanted to reach out. Recently worked with Supreme to 2x their email revenue in 67 days with our pure commission email systems. Mind if I send over a video covering how company can implement the same system? Boom. Simple. Hey name, came across company's website, signed up to your newsletter. Noticed a few mistakes in your welcome flow that could be costing thousands of sales every month. Made you a video covering how to fix these mistakes. May I send it over? And again, these are just examples. Do not copy these. It probably won't work. These are very basic emails. Create your own versions, add your own spin to it, etc. The whole point of this is to just give you the tools on how to write great copy. But now, after covering all this, after knowing who you're targeting, what your offer is, what frameworks to use, etc., you should now know how to write the cold emails. You understand the psychology of cold email now. You understand your ICP. You're ready to go. So I recommend revising this section a few times. And yeah, just test out a bunch of emails, write a bunch of them out in a doc, and yeah, just see how it works. Now, let's cover inbox management. This is where the meetings are made. And I think something I've noticed is like people kind of underestimate how important inbox management is. They think really the job's done when you create the campaign and just send the emails, but there's a whole other half of the spectrum that needs to be addressed, which is actually taking these leads and converting them, right? So having a strong inbox management systems and protocols in place to maximize meeting conversions is absolutely crucial. And this is really where the cold hard cash is made. For building a strong inbox management system for maximizing conversions, we need to cover the reply templates that we'll use or give to the inbox managers, and then the follow-up sequence, ideally automated follow-up sequences that we need to have in place to follow up with the people who respond with us. So let's just dive into it. We have reply templates. There's going to be 5 main reply templates that just cover 90% of the scenarios. We got I'm interested, send more info, let's book a call, I'm the wrong person, reach out to whoever, and then cost. For the other 10% of the time, you have to give a custom response, which I won't cover that here because it's very, niche to each person's offer. But in general, these are the 5 common reply scenarios, and can essentially be copy and pasted across the board, right? So let's start with the I'm interested reply template. Hey, first name, thanks for your interest. For some context, here's value. So again, we're going to be pushing value. If you'd like to implement X for company, available on blah, blah, blah. You can also book time here. Let me know what works for you. As you see, we want to always be giving them some sort of value before hopping on a call or pitching a call to them. Could be a case study, examples of work, the sales asset, the sales letter you want to share with them. But don't just pitch a meeting without offering some sort of out value first, unless they specifically say, let's book a meeting, right? Next is send more info. So this is when they're not like necessarily interested, but they're not opposed and they just want to know a little bit more before they move forward. So hey, first name, no problem. So essentially we do explain your offer. For some more context, here's value. If you'd be interested in learning more, time and date, calendar link, and let me know and go from there. So you see in this example, the tone's a little bit different, a little more serious because their guard's probably up a bit. Um, so we need to we don't want to be like jumping on them too hard, right? So give them some info, give them some value, and if they're still not interested, no biggie. We just want to show that we're not desperate for their business or anything, and it'll just lead to a better frame of the call. If you're not trying to be too desperate. Now let's book a call. This is obviously the ideal situation. Very basic. Just offer a time and date, send your calendar link, and then look forward, tell them you're looking forward to speak with them. Nothing. Pretty simple, right? Nothing crazy. But the thing is, sometimes the prospect will say, "Let's book a call," and then they'll just go ghost. And in this case, what we can do is we'll use this template, which is meeting request ghosted. And in this case, what we do is we say, "Hey, first name, place a few minutes on 3 to 4 days out, give them some time to discuss what you're talking about. If you can't make it, no worries. Just want to get some time on the calendar. As you said, you were interested in speaking. Let me know if you'd like to reschedule. Otherwise, speak then." So what we're doing, we're just booking them in. Because they said they were interested in a meeting. Sometimes people just forget, right? They get busy. So we want to hold them accountable to that. So we can book them in at a reasonable time, of course. Make sure it's adjusted to their time zone. And then just do it, right? If they explicitly said, "Let's have a call," they're going to be cool with you booking them in. Like, there's no issue. And even if they reschedule, it's no worries, because then they're still booked in, right? Don't be afraid to do this, because honestly they appreciate it sometimes, because it's like, oh, they're just lazy to book in, really. They appreciate you just doing it for them. So make sure you have the calendar flows set up though, or else they might not see the notification, right? Now let's talk about "I'm the wrong person." So in this case, you'll get it sometimes, like say, "Hey, I'm the wrong person, reach out to our marketing director," whoever. Really all you're going to do is you're going to come with this intro, and then you're going to just sort of repaste like the previous email body. You can even add your calendar link at the end of this. But you're just kind of rehashing the past conversation you were having with the initial contact. So these are good to do because they have a pretty high reply rate. Because they're going to be a bit warmer, right? Because you've already been in contact with one of the people at the company. And then for cost, so we have this really good reply template that we use for most of the pricing objections. So cover it here. Hey, first name, pricing varies, but we typically do X. So if you have multiple pricing structures, you would mention it here. You don't want to give the exact number, right? So we say here, can't give you the specific number since it depends on the size of your company, whatever specific metric you need to know. We can speak for 79 minutes about this briefly, so we're just giving like a really random time. That's also that's like a pretty short time. So it's very low commitment. If you want to be opposed to it, if you're open to it, I'll send an invite. If not, no worries, right? That's it. We're keeping it very nonchalant. We're not desperately pushing for it because they're already kind of ejecting. And yeah, I have an example here. You can check that out in the document of this working in action. Because this guy gave a really tough objection, and we were able to handle it very nicely. But yeah, you obviously want to take the context of your current conversation you're having and add your own spin to it. But now that you have the frameworks on the reply templates, simply fill out each section with your correct info that is relevant to your offer. And now, you got reply templates. You always want to make sure you're using reply templates. You never want to be spending your time, manually typing out all the replies. It's so low leverage. All this can be templatized. So now let's talk about automated subsequences. What are subsequences? Subsequences, they're automated follow-up sequences that are used for different reply scenarios. Pretty simple, right? They're very useful since they help convert meetings on an autopilot without get rid of the worry of leads going to waste, right? So there'd be 4 main subsequences that we use for follow-up. We got the interested sequence, meeting request, out of office, and then pre-call sequence. Each of these can be automated within SmartLead and Calendly. So let's cover the interested subsequence. A general rule of thumb for prospects who respond as interested, you want to follow up until they say yes or no. You want to get a response out of them. It's better to get a no than no response, right? This means there's no limit to how many interested subsequences you can, or how many emails you can add to your interested subsequence. So I'll just lay out a few examples here. First email is typically 2 days later. Let me know your thoughts on the previous email, first name. 4 days later, hey name, circling back with a case study, so providing more value. Would love to give more insight on your strategy and how you used to generate X, Y, blah, blah, blah. Book a call here, calendar link. 7 days later, hey, first name. About a week ago, you said you were interested in X strategy. Has that changed? We can dive much further into that call if that interests you. No worries if not, etc. I'm not going to sit here and read all these word for word again. Pretty simple but effective. The goal of the subsequence is really just to get them circling back and just get back into their view. If they already said they're interested, then really we just need to get them back in the conversation. That's it. Doesn't need to be anything crazy. Not meeting request. It is if they said they were interested in a meeting and you haven't booked them in. If you didn't force book them in, you can go with this. Let me know if this times work for you or not. Otherwise, you can send me a few times that work for you if you'd like to. Here's my calendar link. 4 days later, hey, first name, circling back the case study. Basically the same thing again, really. Again, you can check the document. I won't sit here and read all these. This has already been a long video, so let's just continue. The meeting request sequence is basically the interested subsequence. Nothing really that crazy. It's just the intent as they were interested in the meeting. Now let's talk about the out of office subsequence. So this is a pretty useful one, right? Because as you can see, especially during times of the year where a lot of people are on vacation, this can be very useful. So what we want to do is this is what we do in SmartLead. We set a condition to where when we mark a lead as out of office, to follow up with them in 21 days with this subsequence. And essentially all we're going to do is we're going to repaste the initial sequence that we had, except lead with the fact that we're going to say something like, hey, welcome back to office, or I tried emailing you when you were out of office, something along those lines. Because it adds that layer of personalization. Most people don't really ever contact or recontact the out of office leads, right? So yeah, and you want to have like the 21-day gap because some people are gone for a lot longer. But yeah. And since you're sending these OO sequences at lower volume, you can add links and pictures if you wanted to, since deliverability, they won't be really affected at that low volume. And since they already technically responded to you, so it's okay. You can test out hard CTAs as well on this. You can really test anything as you please. Now, the last main subsequence we'll use is the pre-call sequence. And this is really important for keeping your prospects warm on the call. This will not only increase your meeting show rate, but yeah, it's going to make them easier to close. To set this up, you'll need Calendly subscription and to get access to workflow features. Costs like $12 a month. Just get it. And this is the setup we go with. Email 1, confirmation email with a redirect to VSL sales letter case studies. Email 2, 2 days prior. Email 3, 24 hours before with more sales assets. Then email 4, 2 hours prior with a rescheduling link in case if they want to reschedule, so they don't end up rescheduling last second, right? There's an example there. And you can get really creative with the pre-call sequence. The goal is really to just warm up the prospect and make sure they help in the call, or just reschedule if they need to. And yeah, there you have it. Get the 4 main subsequences for covering the meetings. And that's going to cover the cold email section. If you follow this section alone, I guarantee you'll book at least 520 meetings per month. Even if you have 0 past experience, just following these step by step, like you're going to be good, right? Now we have to cover how we're going to actually manage the incoming lead flow and operational complexity that comes with the cold email infrastructure. So let's cover the back-end operations here. So this is arguably the biggest pitfall for a lot of agencies. It's just poor operations. This could, leak into fulfillment, things like that. Because if you're generating leads for your business and converting them, but you're not able to fulfill in your service, then everything's going to fall apart, right? Your business will implode. You'll lose your mind, guaranteed. you need a system to handle this process for you. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna help you guys do that if you would like to work with us. Not only are we gonna help with building the Cold Emo system, helping you create your B2B ecosystem, creating the sales assets, helping you with the sales process itself. We're also going to help with everything that happens after that. We can automate your onboarding, help with project management, all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that, of course, book a call below. But anyway, let's get back into it. Yeah, so we've helped our clients, streamline the operations from sales process to their onboarding, their fulfillment. The mission is to redefine what operational efficiency looks like with automation and AI, and we'll talk about AI a little bit later. But the backend operation strategy is going to consist of 5 core main mechanisms. First is going to be personalized process audit and improvement. Second, automated sales process to increase conversions and sales calls. Automated onboarding process to increase LTV for your clients. Systematizing and automating fulfillment for whatever parts that can be systematized and automated. Obviously, not everything can be. And then continuous operations, monitoring, and optimization. So let's start with the personalized process audit. First, we're going to perform deep audits of your business and then closely analyze what your current processes are to see, what holes can be filled, what things can be automated. And then we're going to perform workflows on those. We confirm if they're organized or coherent with the business objectives or not, and then we organize or we categorize processes in 2 buckets, which can be, are these processes repetitive but require a human? So we try to figure out how we can outsource that. And then are these processes repetitive and don't require a human, like can it be automated? For these processes to be delegated, we can provide a framework for creating the SOPs that a VA can or employee can follow. So we can help you guys create SOPs like that. And when we create these SOPs, we'll obviously put it into a project management system that you can create a Notion, create an Airtable, whatever you prefer to have the project management system in. We'll do that. Now, the automated sales process. This is absolutely crucial that once you dial your front end and lead management, that you make it as easily as humanly possible to close a prospect, right? So as we just discussed before, we're going to use our asset-based selling strategy to for our sales process, but we can automate some of this, right? So it should be significantly easier when you create sales assets and redirect them to your VSL landing page with social proof and competence. Then you create a sales process that capitalizes prospects and turns them to buy a prospect. You're going to turn warm leads into hot leads, which we will help you with. Automated lead management system, making sure everything's manageable. Do this like within the CRM, making sure that we're not, manually copying and pasting. Making sure we're unqualifying the unqualified leads. Making sure we're responding quickly, so we have that within the CRM or Smart Lead. Making sure we're not having any out of sync systems, and then we're making sure obviously no impersonal generic outreach. CRM automations, these are huge for just making sure you're keeping the leads in place. If you don't have a CRM, if you're not having a good place to manage all the leads, then you're bleeding time, right? You're also bleeding leads, and we do not want to do that. We want to make sure the front end is being taken care of on the back end, and we're getting the most out of the volume we're sending, right? Automated reporting. Every week we'll have these automated reports to where you'll see how many emails are being sent, how many replies are coming through. Just making sure we're giving you the data and we're collecting the data and we're using that as feedback to be able to make future decisions on how we can improve systems, right? That's really what it's all about. We want to see, okay, when we make X change, is it leading to Y result in a good way or a bad way? So making sure we have automated reporting for that is huge. And then automating onboarding, making sure we automate your onboarding. Unless if it is already automated, then that's great. But if not, we want to make your onboarding process for the clients you close through our system as seamless as possible. We give them a good experience. We make sure the LTV is maximized and there's zero buyer remorse. when they onboard from you from cold email, because a lot of times cold email prospects, they'll be a bit more skeptical to the entire thing, because again, it's two random strangers coming in contact with each other, and the random strangers gave you thousands of dollars, right? So they might still be a bit skeptical. So we want to make sure we get rid of all that contemplation. Now, systematizing and automating fulfillment. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna audit your fulfillment process. If there's any parts of your fulfillment process that you believe can be automated, systematized, we will help you with that. We will create systematized workflows around that, so you have a very well-oiled machine, and you can run at maximum efficiency with your team, with yourself, and make sure all these operations are in place, right? So the first thing that we want to do when we're building out these workflows for your process is defining what the goal is, right? So you got to ask yourself, what do you want to achieve, and what does success look like? When do you want the workflow to be pre-performed? Who is doing it? And once you have the confidence in how you want to process your flow, the second step is to create equipment to support this process. So equipment is broken into four buckets. We got templates. How can you templatize it? Technology, figuring out the technology you need to use. The team, do you have the people in place for doing this? Yeah, you can use the CAST framework if you want to determine whether this can be delegated to a human or if it could be automated. So you can ask yourself, is it a creative task? Is it analytical? Is it strategic? Or is it thoughtful? In that case, you can decide if you want to delegate to a human or not. And of course, testing. We want to actually test if the workflow is working. And we want to stress test it. We want to make sure it really works and is consistent over a long period of time. Not just works a few times and then it just breaks over time. So we want to make sure it's all in place. Now let's ask yourself these questions, right? Can the business survive without you if you took out a week? Is it anti-fragile? Are the SOPs for how to perform the task in your project management system that your employees and contractors can refer to? So are the SOPs in place? Are deliverables constantly overdue and being forgot about? Is there accountability? So is there an accountability system in place? Are the trainings available to explain through the process, like why the task needs to be executed and why it works, why it needs to be done in a certain way, and how to approach any roadblocks in this process? And do you have automations in place to make workflows for your client success managers easy? You must have all these things in place. You want to answer these questions, and you want to be able to say, yes, I have all these in place, to finally know that you have a well-oiled machine in how you operate, right? And this is how you're going to consistently deliver to clients over a long period of time, as you have the oncoming lead flow from the cold email system, from the ecosystem, all that stuff, right? And this is how your service is going to improve. And again, it's upward spiral. Once your service improves, you're going to get better case studies, which is going to lead to more clients, and then boom, boom. It's just non-stop upward spiral, right? So yeah, we want client satisfaction and results to just be at an all-time high. And yeah, a lot of this can be helped out significantly just through systems and automations, through an operations audit that we will run you guys through, and we will help out in building out, right? So what we can do with our project management system is we want to set it up into 6 success pipelines. We do this so our team knows exactly where within the pipeline we are with the deliverables and how we can collect goal we're all aiming for. So this is like if you have a team of people, you want to make sure your project management has all the tasks in place for making sure everything's getting done, and then sort of mark it as like a success if it does get done, right? It builds like that positive feedback loop. And this is all going to help towards getting this, because ideally you want like 12 plus month LTV, unless unless there's some offer where you don't want that. But I think in the end, everyone wants a long LTV. But yeah, this is all again to maximize the client satisfaction from clients that come from our system. So over time, you're just generating more revenue, you're just building up your business in a reliable way. Now, continuous operations and monitoring and optimization. So after the systems have been built and placed in your business, they need to be monitored. to ensure they continue to work as intended and optimize as softwares get updated and as your business evolves, of course, right? So we can use Zapier's in-house tools for monitoring errors. We're actually moved over to Make at this point, but yeah, we have internal systems to where we'll get immediately notified when something goes wrong, and then we'll obviously audit that and figure out how we'll go about fixing that. Which, even if things do break, it's all good feedback, because then we're going to build a better system upon that. It's all just feedback loops, right? Building upon these feedback loops and just continuing optimizing over time. This is where like the anti-fragile comes into play. You know, the system only gets better as things become more hectic, and you know, let's say something breaks or like some big market shift happens, our systems are going to become better, and we're going to adapt to it always, right? So yeah, in the end, we're in the game for ultimate leverage. We want to systematize, automate everything that can be systematized or automated, to where you can focus on only high leverage tasks, right? Like only the specific things that are going to move the needle, right? But yeah, there's no better time in history to be an effective and lean business, which is how our system comes into play and makes all these things happen, right? Effective outreach system, effective inbound conversion system. And it'll be able to keep the team lean. You won't have to hire a ton of people. I've heard horror stories of some of these people hiring, you know, full teams to manage very basic operations, to manage the cold email system, when in reality it could be managed by like maybe 2 or 3 people at tops, right? But anyways, that covers the backend systems. Now let's talk about leveraging AI. This is gonna be the final section. This is probably the least important section of the entire thing, but it can be very useful. Because something I want to make very clear is AI is an amplifier, right? Your business is not going to immediately change overnight and be revolutionized just through AI systems, right? Using for email personalization, custom videos, etc., it's not going to fix your results from cold email. If your outbound results suck, AI is not going to fix that. It will only potentially help it, right? It just gives an additional edge. Makes your strategy more efficient, your system more efficient. But the fundamentals is what's always going to bring the results, which is why I went into such thorough detail into all the fundamentals. First, we hyper optimize all the fundamentals, and then we can tap into the more, I guess, tacky things such as AI, to just be like a little cherry on top, essentially. But yeah, that said, let's talk about how we can leverage AI within our system, specifically for cold email, and let's dive into it. So there's 5 relevant use cases for AI we leverage within our strategy for cold email. First will be market research. Second, lead list formatting, cold email spin tags, secondary domain creation, and then of course email personalization, which I'm sure a lot of you are licking your lips right now to figuring out about that. But I say that for last on purpose. So stick to the end, right? All right. So market research. With the right prompts and keywords, we can create pinpoint accurate lists with little to human error in list formatting to make our emails as personalized as possible. And we're going to cover that with market research first. So to create these pinpoint accurate lists, we need to figure out who will be the most suitable within our companies to work with. We already covered the ICP section within the script writing section, writing our ICP, but we actually need to source that data first. Like, okay, how do we know exactly what people want? I mean, of course, a big way of finding that out is by hopping on sales calls and just getting feedback from the market through cold email. But this can be expedited. The process can be expedited through just asking, you know, ChatGPT, AI, for this info, right? So there's a prompt here. I'm not going to read it out. Again, you can check the document, write it out for yourself. But here's an example. Again, I'm not going to read all this right now. You can check the document. You can pause this video, read it out. But yeah, it gives a pretty thorough answer on the decision makers we want to target, identify, and also give us insight on the roles and motivations they have within these roles and why we should contact them. So you can leverage this information when writing your scripts, and start writing out your ICP, understanding them, you can leverage this information from AI. But yeah, when we build a list now, we can be confident the people that we are reaching out to are best suited for our partnership offer of the company, because we have this data here. And of course, you can't just rely on just AI to give you all the market research. You need to have had your own experiences, and you should at this point, right? If you're running your own agency, of course, but AI can be a lever in that. And if you run like your own cold email agency, if you're a cold email guy watching this right now, this is something you do for clients, which can be helpful. Now let's talk about lead list formatting. This is a big one, and this is something that a lot of people would spend a lot of money on for VAs to do, but now we can have AI do it immediately, right? So when you scrape lists, you're going to see that a lot of the company names are going to be written in a way that is not human. That's just like automated, right? By having it all caps, having .co, having .com, having these legality things at the end of the names. We don't want any of that. So what we do is we create a prompt. We can use GPT for Sheets for this. It's a Chrome extension. You can download it, and we'll use the GPT format function and we'll use this prompt. So you take this company name, probably format it, clean it up, etc. Again, check out the document. You can use it yourself, and it will fix all the company names. There will be a few errors, but 99% of the company names will be good. You can have a VA check out the errors, but this 100x efficiency on cleaning these lists, because before this used to be such a pain, but now with AI we're able to format everything, in like we can format a list of 10,000 leads in like 3 minutes, right? Super fast. But yeah, making sure we do this within our cold emails and our lists is very crucial, because the thing is, if you do not format the company names, it will be blatant that the emails you're sending are spam, right? Or automated. So you want to fix that. Now let's talk about cold email spin text. So with this prompt, you can't do all of the cold email spin text, but you can do some of it. I have a video linked here. It's in the document. You can check it out. So I recommend checking that video if you want. But yeah, in this prompt, you can create spin text. You can't like do the entire email. We're working on a way to fix that, but because AI, it can't write perfect cold emails yet. So, but we do have a slight solution here. If you want to create a few versions of spin text here. But yeah, you can check out the video here if you're curious on that. Secondary domain creation, this is super basic. Really, it's just because sitting there writing out 50 different secondary domains is a waste of time. You can just have ChatGPT type this prompt, hey, create a list of 50 different variations of the following website domain, but only use .com domains, and then you just put in your website domain, and then it'll pump out a list. Again, in the document, there's a link to the video. You can check that out. But yeah, there's no need to spend 20 minutes manually writing out all the domain names. It's super low leverage. Now let's talk about email personalization. This is probably the one that everyone's most curious about. So let's talk about it. So there's been dozens of AI personalization softwares that have come and gone over the past few years, and none of them have really seemed to get it right. Like the lines, they seem too robotic. It's not relevant to the topic conversation. But when OpenAI came out with ChatGPT, it opened the gates for experimentation with AI personalization. So over the past 8 months or whatever, we were able to test hundreds of different prompts and come up with actually good personalization. And today I can say we did kind of find it. Here's the prompt here. You can test it yourself. The thing is, from testing, from what I've seen, AI personalization, it's not the biggest thing in the world. Like it's good, but it's not gonna boost results crazy. Like as I've said before, the intro of an email giving them a small compliment is not gonna be the reason why they hop on a meeting with you. They're gonna hop on a meeting with you because they want your offer and they see that you're competent. It's not gonna be because of AI, right? So you can do this inside Google Spreadsheets with the GPT for Sheets feature. And what we do is we concatenate all the data points we have, so like website, company name, SEO, etc. If you want to see how this works, of course, you can book a call with us and I can show you. Um, but yeah, I would say like 80 to 90% of the time, the outputs are good, but I'd recommend hiring a VA to clean up the outputs because sometimes they are they come out a little bit weird. But here's a few examples of the outputs. This was for targeting pet brands. Um, but yeah, the beauty of AI personalization and just AI automation in general is that it can be damn near scale or infinitely scalable as long as you have the resources and systems in place, of course, to do so. Excuse me about moving the mic. But yeah, so that basically wraps up the AI section. It's nothing absolutely crazy, but it's very useful. It makes everything way more efficient because a lot of these tasks in the past took a lot of time, like a lot of time. Like these 5 AI features alone probably saved us at least like 20 hours a week. Honestly, it's crazy. Like, you'd be surprised how long these things take. Um, but yeah, each of these tasks they're best handled by AI. I wouldn't recommend hiring a VA for these things. Just use AI systems to do these tasks. You're kind of just wasting money if you're paying a VA to do it. You're also wasting time too. So yeah. But again, to reiterate, AI is not going to save your outbound strategy. It's only an amplifier. The fundamentals is what's going to get results. There you have it. That's the full video. I don't see a timer right now, but I think that was about a 3-hour video. I hope you found this useful. I hope you found this enjoyable. Um, but yeah, I'm sure this is probably the most informative document you've seen on scaling your B2B business with cold email and asset-based selling ever, right? So here's a quick recap of what we covered. We covered how to create the B2B ecosystem, how to become an authority within your industry, how to leverage asset-based selling to increase conversions from outbound, how to create the perfect cold email infrastructure for targeted high-volume campaigns, how to build out backend operations to maximize lead inflow conversions and client experience, and how to leverage AI to increase system efficiency and results. If you follow this document word for word, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind you can book at least 5 to 20 sales calls every month. And that's quite a lot. It's quite a lot, but it's what's required in 2024. You need to do all of these things. The most brutal part about cold email is that 95% is not enough. You have to be running the system at least 99% or 100%. It needs to be 100% efficiency. There can be no holes within the system, or else you'll get no results. It's really a game of all or nothing. That's why I make sure this document is so thorough that everything is covered, because the thing is, if any of these things are out of place or not in place, you're just simply not going to get results, right? Your system needs to be hyper optimized in every facet to generate results. You need a proper tech setup, volume, script writing. You need A/B testing the scripts. You need targeted list building. You need pull lead maximization. You need to gain the most leads possible. You need consistent campaign creation. You need inbox management, optimized inbox management system. You need to be responding within 5 minutes, right, of lead replies. And then you need to be lead nurturing. You need to be following up with leads. The list goes on. But it's what must be done, right? So, if you're a B2B business owner and you're looking to skip all this hassle, but you want this system injected in your business, we will build out the entire infrastructure mentioned in this document, done for you, place a trained inbox manager, and train your team on how to manage the system internally. We also offer done for you, just traditional done for you lead generation, but we do offer placing the system in your business. So if us building this infrastructure for your business interests you, you can book a call with me at the button below. If you're checking out the document, you can book a call there, and we'll discuss further. There's an FAQ here on this document. There's also one at the bottom of the page if you want to check that out, if you have any further questions. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this is informative, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Cheers.